Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Shantae and you should totally subscribe and join the family. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a little bit. I will say I took like a week off. I go through waves where I like know what I want to do and then like I don't know what I want to do. So I planned out a lot of videos for this year, but I just wasn't feeling motivated or inspired the past week, so I took it off. And that's okay. Some updates. I dyed my hair. My hair is black again and I feel so good. What's something else that has happened? Oh, me and Sam got little ear piercings. I got my cartilage pierced. That's all that's going on. Those are my life updates. they're all both physical traits. However, today, as you can see by the title, today we're going to be doing a book video. I think that I'm a booktuber now. I am a booktuber. I like to talk about books. I have read 7 books since my last book video, and I just want to talk about them. So I guess it's like a book review. It's gonna be like a little series on the channel, just like recap and telling you my recommendations and whatnot. And yeah, I'm very excited. I'm a little stuffy right now. I think it's the seasons changing, but I just want to give you that disclaimer in case my voice sounds weird. It does. But without further ado, we're just gonna get into the video, and I hope you guys like it. Okay, so these are the books that I'm going to be talking about today. Should I get a thumbnail? I'm going to go in order of how I read them. So the first book that I'm going to be talking about is called Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. This was a really good book. I would give it an 8 out of 10. This is actually the prequel to The Hate U Give, and I know a lot of you have probably read or watched that movie. Basically, this talks about Star's dad, whose name is Maverick, talks about Maverick in high school, and he was like involved in a gang and how he had kids very young. But it was just very interesting following along a male main character. I feel like a lot of my books are female based. I love girls, but I don't have any like male perspectives in my books, I guess. So it was really cool to get his perspective on things, and I also really love the name Maverick. I thought that was a fire name. Yeah, it talks about him and his girlfriend breaking up and how he ended up being a dad, and it was very, very interesting. And I like how at the end of the book they got pregnant with Star, and then it goes into The Hate U Give, and Star is a teenager. I haven't read The Hate U Give, haven't watched the movie, but I know it's very popular and I want to read the book before I watch the movie. I'm turning into that girl. So I really like this book. I would totally recommend it if you're into The Hate U Give. This is like the prequel, like I said. This is the backstory, and I overall thought that it was a really good book. I got my Starbucks drink on hand. I did a strawberry acai refresher today. Very, very good. However, the next book that I read was All the Bright Places by Jennifer Nixon. This is the cover. This is a popular one. There's actually a movie on this on Netflix as well. I kind of had mixed emotions about this. I didn't really get... I feel like the book was better than the movie, I will say. The movie, I found myself going on my phone and I just wasn't really interested in the movie. Like I said, my channel, everything is like my own opinion. Like, you guys don't have to agree with me, but I don't know, I just like the book better. Yeah, and it basically talks about this boy named Finch and a girl named Violet, and they're both like, I like it because it talked about like mental health and like how they were both kind of depressed, and like, trigger warning, they were kind of like suicidal, and they had to like work together on a class project, which brought them closer, and they kind of bonded over that. It was just nice because it turned into like a relationship kind of thing, and they're in high school, and it was just nice to see the really good character development. Like, it had me wanting to like, oh, like what's gonna happen next, but the ending is actually really so sad. I really like the book. The movie was good. The movie was good, but I like the book more. I found this one to be like really, it was a really much of a page turner for me. Next book, of course, is a Coho book. I love Colleen Hoover. She's my favorite author, and I'm gonna show you guys an overview of my bookshelf after. My bookshelf has grown tremendously, and at least like 8 to 10 of the books are Colleen Hoover. My only goal in life is to have all of Colleen Hoover's books, and I'm very excited because they're coming out with a It Starts With Us. It's the sequel to It Ends With Us in October, and I'm so excited. I can't wait. It Ends With Us was such a good book. I talked about that in my last video. However, I also talked about Ugly Love, which is also a really popular one. There's characters from Ugly Love in November 9. November 9 was so good. It was on my list for a long time. It basically talks about this girl. Her name's Fallon, and she meets this guy named Ben. Ben is like an aspiring author, and he like meets Fallon at a restaurant, and Fallon is like an actress, but she has like not a deformity, but something like is wrong with her face, like she was in like a house fire. They meet at a restaurant, and Fallon's like, yeah, like I'm gonna move. She's on a date with her dad, like a lunch date. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna move. And her dad was very unsupportive of her because of like her face. And I don't really remember because I read it a little while ago, but Ben, like, they met at the restaurant after she was done, and they were like fake boyfriend and girlfriend. So this happened on November 9th, and every year after that they would meet on November 9th, and there was so much, there was also a lot of character development in this book. This one was a really good read, and the ending was crazy. This one, I feel like there's a lot leading up to it, you know what I mean? Some of her books like string you in right along. This one did string me in right along. This is one of the books I read when I had COVID. Like, I read this book so fast. But like, I feel like everything leads up to the end, if that makes sense. This was so good. This is definitely like one of my favorite books. I would give this a 10 out of 10. I love Colleen Hoover. Her books are so good, and this one was really good. I would recommend reading Ugly Love before this one because there's characters from Ugly Love in this one. If not, no big deal, but I feel like being a Colleen Hoover reader, it was cool to see Tate and Miles in November 9. Next book that I read is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I was speechless at the end of this book. 10 out of 10. One of the best books I've ever read. Basically, it talks about this girl. Her name's Monique, and guys, I feel so bad. I'm actually so congested. Monique is like an inspiring writer, and she works for like a news company, nothing crazy. And Evelyn Hugo, who is like, she's older now, she is like a Hollywood icon, she's an actress, she's been in so many movies, talk of the town. Evelyn wants Monique, who doesn't have a lot of writing experience, to write her biography, you know what I mean? So every day Monique comes to Evelyn's house, and they talk about her 7 husbands. Monique came up with the 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo title. She's been through so much in her life, but she broke it down in between marriages, like chapters, you know what I mean? But she went through a lot, and this was such a good book. Like, they need to make this into like a movie or something. Like, I was intrigued, and love is crazy, dude. Like, this just opened my eyes to a lot, but I just love Evelyn. Like, she is a woman who knows what she wants. She'll do anything to go after it. By anything, I mean anything. But this book was such a good read, and this had me wanting to read more of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. This was so good, guys. You need to go get this. And by the end of the book, then it was pretty sad. But every chapter, every marriage just had me wanting more. I was like reading this in the bath. Like, I was doing anything I could to read this. I brought this book with me to the gym. I read it on the treadmill. It was pretty crazy. But yeah, 10 out of 10. I'm gonna reread this book one time. I loved it so much. And yeah, next book that I'm gonna be talking about, I feel like every clip I do, I'm in a different angle. Like, sometimes I'm low, sometimes I'm high. I don't know. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. I'm literally on my feet. I have to get a little beanbag chair for my book videos. Next book that I read is called One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I don't really know how to pronounce the last name. Sorry, I totally butchered that. I have mixed emotions about this book. This book was very long, probably like the longest book I've read yet. It was well over 400 pages. And I just felt like, this book could have stopped at like 200 pages. And I looked up like reviews after I read it, and like a lot of people kind of like agreed on that. Like, the book was kind of like dragged out, which wasn't like my cup of tea. I felt like once they figured out the dilemma, like the book should have been over, you know what I mean? But basically it's about this girl named August and this girl named Jane. Jane is like stuck in time. Somehow she got stuck on the subway for years, and she's like from like the 90s, and August is like present day. And like, you know, they're in love with each other, and they're very attracted to each other, and August moved to New York. She lives with a bunch of roommates, and she moved to New York for school. So she's going to school, and she watched to take the subway. That's how she met Jane. One thing that I really did like about this book is that there's a lot of diversity. I find a lot of my books is just like I'm mixed, if you guys don't know, I'm black and white, but I find a lot of my books are just like white couples. Like there's no diversity in like my romance novels. So I like this one because Jane was like Filipino, August was white, and all of August's roommates were like queer, all different like ethnicities, different sexualities. I loved that. Like I ate that up. That was really good. I just like how every character had a backstory. It wasn't just about August and Jane. It was for the most part, but like you got inside the other characters' heads too a little bit. Another thing that I struggled with while reading this was like it wasn't from anybody's perspective. It was from like third person. So it'd be like August said and then Jane said. That was a little weird for me to follow in the beginning. It was a good book. At the end, it ended well. I just felt like it was kind of dragged along. I would honestly give this like a 4 out of 10. I have another book by this author. It's called Red, White, and Royal Blue that I want to read. I heard that one was really good, but this wasn't my favorite book, and I have been lucky to read a lot of good books so far, so I felt like it was bound to happen, but it wasn't horrible, but I don't think that I would read it again. And yeah. Okay, and last book that I read was so good. It is called They Cage the Animals at Night by Jennings Michael Birch. This is a true story, kind of like an autobiography. Autobiography is when they write about themselves, right? I think. But this, oh my god, left me in tears. I cried for half an hour after I finished this book. I cry a lot from books, but like I haven't had a book touch me the way this book did. Basically, Jennings, the little boy, his mom drops him off at a group home. She's like, I'll be back soon. Obviously, she didn't come back soon. It talks about his experience in foster homes and group homes and going back to his mom and everything that happened with his family. And he had a bunch of different like siblings. He had a pretty big family, and they would all go into like different things, so they were never fully together. This book affected me so much, and I'm very happy to say there was a good ending. It was a good ending. I was crying forever. It's just sad. It's really sad. I don't know if any of you guys have anybody in your family, or if you guys have been in foster care. I've been grateful enough to not be in foster care. I had a good family growing up, which I'm forever thankful for, but my dad was a foster kid, and it just really resonated with me. Like, this book was so good, and it just had me wanting to ask my dad so many more questions about his life, and I don't know, it just really put a lot into perspective for me and made me really grateful for the life that I live. I complain about a lot of stuff, but I'm very grateful to have a good family. I feel like we often overlook those things, so this was like, I feel like I read this at a good place in my life, if that makes sense. My dad has always told me to read this growing up, and I was like, yeah, like, I'll read it. He's so into Netflix. He has so many show recommendations, and I never have the time to watch Netflix, but I've been into reading, obviously. So I went on an Amazon shopping spree, and I bought this book, and I was like, Dad, I'm gonna read it, and I read it, and it was so good. Like, this touched my heart. Like, if you really want to feel something, any person with like a heart should read this book. Like, 13 out of 10. This was the best book in my haul. I really love this book. It's definitely one of my favorites, and I'm not even a nonfiction person. I love this book. It was really good. Yeah, guys, that is it for my book video for today. I hope that you guys got some recommendations, some books that you're interested in reading. There's pretty diverse amount, which I thought was really nice. However, yeah, I love you guys all so much. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.